Welcome back to the Manc Entrepreneur YouTube channel. And in today's episode, I wanted to give you a bit of a news roundup about what has actually been going on in the world of e-commerce this week. This week has been a crazy one for news, and rather than do a dedicated video for each one, instead I just want to sort of give you a brief summary of what's been going on, to bring you and keep you up to date with all the latest news and information that you need to know about. If you are an online seller, if you're interested in eBay, Amazon, and e-commerce in general. Now, with that said, the first news piece I already covered earlier this week. I think it was on Monday or Tuesday, or maybe last, I can't even remember. It was the news that Adobe has bought Magento. That was the big news piece, and if you didn't catch that video, I'll put a link up here. You can check that out in your own time. But also in the description down below, there's loads of links to everything I'm talking about in the description down below. So just click show more underneath this video, and all the links are there. And that includes, I think there's about 3 or 4 relating to the Magento Adobe story. So we're not going to touch on that. I talked about it earlier this week. The links to the video and the articles covering that are down below. So go and check that out if you are interested or affected by Magento. The next big story, which came out on Tuesday, I believe, was it Tuesday? I think it was the news that eBay in the UK and the USA had both released their summer updates for 2018. Now, again, I can take you through briefly what has been said. As far as I'm concerned, they're not big updates. I would say these are more like updates to the spring update. I know here in UK, Rob Hattrell, the VP of eBay UK, actually met up with Rob a couple of weeks ago down in London. Really nice guy, really like the direction he sees eBay going in. We had a chat, and basically a lot of what me and Rob chatted about is what has come about in this update. It's all just, this is like a transition time for eBay. This is what we're working on. This is the direction we're going. Brief mentions of like the product catalog getting expanded and what this means for sellers and things that they need to do. What else? There was some changes to the category structure, seller standards, some changes there, improving returns. It was all pretty much the similar stuff that had been mentioned back in the spring update. It was all about make it, if you are a below standard seller, or if you are making deliveries too late, or you're not meeting the sort of requirements, eBay can penalize you. They may display longer shipping times, or they may charge you for up to 4% more on your final value fees if you're a below standard seller. That, and again, they're slowly working on the catalog. So again, it is what it is. That's not big news, but more of just an update as to what is going on at eBay. And again, both links down below from eSell Cafe. We have a US one and a UK one. So no matter where you're based, whether you're based UK, US, we have the article for you, which details everything that you need to know. Next up was maybe not as big of a story, but it was actually regarding Amazon and the fact that Amazon has been closing accounts. Now, this isn't new. Amazon have done this before, but the hashtag, which has hashtag Amazon closed, started off around March, and apparently it's come back around again today, or this week in May. Sort of gives you the insight that Amazon have done another push on closing accounts where either customers were claiming either claiming too many returns or sending back too many products, which would be above what Amazon's average is. To Amazon, you got to remember, Amazon has a lot of data. They have a lot of data. So they've got a pretty good idea of what the average seller or average buyer is returning. And I mean, to throw this out there, I think I've been using Amazon now for over 10 years, and I think I have returned two or three things. And to give you an idea, I buy a lot of stuff from Amazon. So, I mean, I've had 4 packages this week from Amazon. So I've returned maybe 2 or 3 in 10 years. That gives you an idea about how good Amazon generally are and how a normal person does not return a lot of things to them. Granted, I'm sure they'll take into account things like fashion and things like that. But Amazon have come out and said they are actually deactivating buyer accounts if they determine that a returns rate is too high. Now, that is good news for sellers because, again, there's always the suspicion that as a seller, if someone's returning stuff to you, especially is it fashion, have they worn it once and are sending it back? You know, there's always a little bit of like, is there fraudulent sort of reasons for sending this back? Who really knows? But Amazon is taking action. And anyone who's seen to be violating the community rules, then they're getting their accounts closed. And, you know, Amazon are fair. You know, if maybe you have just been unlucky and if your account's been closed, they will listen to you and you can appeal to have it reinstated. But largely, I would say this is good news. So again, Amazon is doing its best to protect sellers in this instance and getting rid of bad buyers. One to be aware of, and again, it's been quite loud in the news this week, so worth mentioning. Now, on to maybe one of the second, or maybe one of the biggest, if not the second biggest news piece from this week. It was almost as out of the blue, almost as unexpected as the news about Adobe by Magento. And that is that Tesco here in the UK is closing their non-food website, which is Tesco Direct, down on the 9th of July this year. Putting that into e-commerce speak, that means that the Tesco Marketplace is also closed. Tesco Marketplace, this comes, about 2 weeks after GameSeek, which was another UK marketplace, one dedicated to gaming and games and that sort of consumer electronics industry. That went into liquidation, but Tesco is closing the non-food website, Tesco Direct, therefore the Tesco Marketplace down on the 9th of July. Tesco announced that conducted a detailed review of Tesco Direct, its non-food website, and has concluded that despite its best efforts, there is no route to profitability for this small, loss-making part of the business. I'm not sure how small it is because apparently approximately 500 jobs are at risk of redundancy across the business due to this closure. Now, Tesco Marketplace did start off as an invitation-only marketplace. I believe it still was to a degree. I believe you could ask for an invitation, but still largely it was an invite-only. And it never really took off. There's a number of reasons why this could have been. I remember back when Tesco Marketplace launched, I was working with a few guys back then. I believe I was doing consultancy work. I was working for an electronics company. I was also working with fashion guys and also a sports brand. And I remember getting the document that Tesco wanted us to fill in order to get on to the Tesco Marketplace. And this thing was about that thick. It was a small to medium-sized book. It wasn't user-friendly to do. Their data processing wasn't great. And I'm sure over time, this got better. I'm sure it did, because this was, like I said, this was when it first launched and we were invited on to do it with a number of different sellers that I was managing at the time. And I just remember looking at it going, this is a pain. And back then, it would take so much time to actually get listed onto Tesco Marketplace. But at this time, it was that new. Nobody knew what traffic or sales was going to be like. So it was a hell of an investment from the seller in order to get onto the website with no guarantee that there would be any such reward at the end of it. The only thing that really was there was the Tesco brand name and the traffic that Tesco Direct got. Speaking from you now in 2018, at this time, I do not know. I don't work with anyone who still sells on Tesco Marketplace. The people who I helped get on there decided to come off because it wasn't worth the effort and the time involved for the sales that they were getting. And very few sort of software companies or sort of e-commerce platforms did a proper integration into the marketplace. So there was a few issues with the Tesco Marketplace. And like I said, I think there's over 300 sellers that are now going to be affected by this. I spoke to a friend of a friend who was selling on the marketplace, and they said that it's not going to make a big impact on their business. They maybe make about 5 sales a week on the Tesco Marketplace, so it wasn't a big deal to them. But yeah, I'm sure there are others on there who this is going to make a big impact too. Which again, it's sort of sad news that another UK marketplace is closing its doors. There are still other marketplaces out there, like Flubbit or SKUcloud, Top Hatter, Newegg. All these other marketplaces are still there, but ultimately it's eBay and Amazon which are still the big giants of the industry, and that's where the majority of sales are. So yeah, big news from Tesco. They're closing the doors on their loss-making Tesco Direct marketplace. Who knows whether they're gonna move away from e-commerce completely, or who knows where that's going to lead in the future. Does this now open a door for? There was rumors that Amazon were in talks with Morrison's, again another big supermarket here in the UK. Asda and Sainsbury's have just in talks of merging. Is that going to be an opportunity to do something there? Sainsbury's obviously already have to deal with Argos and therefore with eBay for their click and collect stuff. It's one of those in the UK industry, in the UK market, the only real people who could compete with Amazon in terms of their delivery speed are supermarkets, because they have the physical locations. So who knows whether there's something that Sainsbury's and Asda do is yet to be seen. And finally, we actually have an update from Israel. Now, did I make a video on this? I did make a video on this. And again, I'll put a link to that video up here in the top corner. This was the news that eBay were punishing arbitrage drop shippers. So that's basically people who were taking products from Amazon and selling them on eBay as their own, but making it the price difference they were taking for themselves. And eBay, whilst they like drop shippers, sometimes because they plug holes in the inventory, what they don't like is basically people ripping off their customers, which is how this fell. And eBay had reportedly been controlling the search rank of certain drop shippers or arbitrage drop shippers, and this got flagged up by a company called Sale Freaks based out of Israel. And they were taken to court, and Sale Freaks had asked for temporary relief in the meantime whilst this went through court. Well, the Israeli court have spoken, and the court has denied Sale Freaks temporary relief. Just looking at the release from Adi Reis, who's again the founder of Sale Freaks, said, "We received a notification from the district court stating that they have rejected our request for temporary relief to roll back eBay's recent search throttle against dropshippers. The judge's reasoning for not granting temporary relief at this stage are: 1, eBay claims to protect the buying experience may be justified, which will only become clear after the main prosecution process is concluded. And 2, the judge acknowledges the damage caused to sellers dropshipping from online sites by eBay's search throttle implemented on April 20th, but also said it did not take a disproportionate step since they are still allowed to sell on eBay's platform." We said they're going to continue with the case against eBay. There is no word yet on a further date. What is interesting, though, is that we have seen a bit of an update to the eBay user agreement. It's not really been widely publicized out there, but let me go through some of this with you. Seller fees don't purchase exclusive rights to item exposure on eBay, whether on a web page, mobile app, or otherwise. We may, in our sole discretion and without consent from or payment, fee reduction, or other credit to sellers display third-party advertisements, including links and references thereto, or other content in any part. Now, that's just legal bloody rubbish. What's eBay saying there is eBay has all the rights to a seller's listing and can do with it what they want. There's even stronger language a little bit further down, which should really take the attention of those arbitrage sellers, which says, as an eBay seller, you represent a warrant that for all such content you provide, you own or otherwise control all necessary rights to do so and to meet all your obligations under our user agreement. You represent a warrant that such content is accurate. You represent a warrant that use of any such content, including derivative works, by us, our users, or others in contact with us in compliance with our user agreement does not and will not infringe any IP rights of any third party. eBay takes no responsibility and assumes no liability for any content provided by you or a third party. What that means is sellers who obtain images or other intellectual property to list items on eBay must have the full authorization to do so from that IP owner. It's interesting to see how this sort of potential legal battle is going to take place out in Israel. eBay seemed pretty well protected, and that old message that it's eBay's marketplace, they can pretty much do as they see fit with the data that you upload. In an update last year, eBay announced that they actually now own the images that you upload to the platform, even if you've taken them. So I don't see how sale freaks really have a leg to stand on here. I think it's one of those things I've said now for probably coming on to 12 months, if not longer. I do think drop shipping is dying. I think private label, white label, whatever you want to call it, is the way of the future. I think brand building and content creation is where there's much more value in a product. Drop shipping and arbitrage was like the get-rich-quick scheme for the lazy seller, really, especially the arbitrage method, because you never really owned any stock. There was very little outlay from you in the beginning. The problem being it was quick wins. It wasn't built for long term. And I think as we see eBay move away from this, we're going to see a lot of those sellers disappear unless they adapt, overcome, and then move into white label, private label. We'll have to wait and see how that pans out. So yeah, this was a bit of a news show with me today. It's been such a crazy news week across the board of e-commerce with eBay, Amazon, Tesco, Magento. I really wanted to just have a quick chat with you and bring you up to speed with everything that's been going on. If you want to find out more about anything that I've spoke about, once again, click the Show More button underneath this video and you'll get all the links that you need. And that's from again, a site which I co-founded, esellercafe.com. So whilst you're there, hit subscribe, join the mailing list, and you'll be kept up to date with all the news as it happens. We don't spam you. We try and keep it to twice a week, if that. What else do I want to say? That's it. We also have a dedicated e-commerce Facebook group. So if you are a seller, if you're a buyer, if you're just interested in e-commerce, over on Facebook, again, link down below. I think it is, let me get the title for you. It's the Global, I'll just open the page, Global E-commerce News. So if you go to facebook.com/groups/Global E-commerce News, feel free to join that Facebook group. And like I said, you'll be kept up to date with all the stuff that's going on and also get to talk to other sellers from around the world about what's going on. If you've got any questions, what should I do if this happens? All that sort of stuff. We've got a nice community. It's growing quickly. So it'd be great to be a part of that as well. With that said, it's bank holiday weekend here in the UK starting from, well, Saturday really, but a lot of people class Friday afternoon as it's starting. So long weekend here in the UK. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe if you are new, and share this video with someone who you think could benefit from learning about this latest news going on in e-commerce. With that said, I'm going to go and crack on with some stuff before the long weekend arrives. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you as always in the next video. I'll see you guys then. Bye.